Ahead of 2023's general election, Malik Ado-Ibrahim, a businessman from Kogi State, has joined the Young Progressives Party, YPP, and declared his bid for the presidency. Ado-Ibrahim said his intention to run for the office of the president was prompted by a leadership vacuum in the country. According to him, Nigeria needs a leader who can unite the country and carry everyone along, irrespective of religion and tribe. Well, joining us now to provide more insight into his presidential bid is Malik Ado-Ibrahim, a YPP presidential hopeful in the 2023 election. Welcome to the show, Mr. Ado-Ibrahim, and good morning.
Good morning to you too. Thank you, Tundu.
Prince Ado-Ibrahim, why do you think you are the best man for the job? And do you think that your platform is strong enough?
Good morning.
Good morning. Considering the fact that people tend to look at the major political parties, and the YPP is not yet, in my view, I may be wrong, a major political platform. Mm-hmm. So what are your chances?
Yes. Well, I think we're in a very interesting juncture in the political life of Nigeria. We've had the same two parties for a while. Nothing really has changed. The conversations are always the same. We are not having any new input. There's no fresh blood. And I just believe that there's an opportunity now, as we've seen in other countries of late, that the right messaging, the right cerebral-minded person, the right call for action could certainly make some changes. And I think by the Constitution, everybody in Nigeria should be able to proffer up solutions and try to run for the highest office. And I'm just exercising that constitutional right. As far as YPP is concerned, I felt that it gave me the opportunity to express myself. Going into any of the other two larger parties, you would have to stay at the bottom of the rung and work your way up. If you have any new energy, it would probably be extinguished by the time you got anywhere near power. So I'd just be recycled as part of the problem and not proffering any solutions. So candidly, that is, I'm not delusional that something is going to all of a sudden open up and I'm going to have this incredible opportunity to be leader. But why not? If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win the lottery. So I'm there to proffer up solutions and show Nigeria that there's other options. And that's simply the case.
Absolutely, right. A lot of the aspirants so far in the race have more national experience than you do. Can you make a case for yourself? Why should people support you in spite of a seeming experience gap?
I'd beg to question that experience. If you're in a race car and the driver may have had 20 seasons of driving and not done well, and the new driver comes along and can drive that car better, then he will definitely be given the chance. I don't think anybody that's a veteran in the Nigerian political game today is going to do anything different. The cycle of insanity is there. And we're going to carry on that cycle if we do not try to at least block that insanity. So I don't believe that anybody can come in and say, I have experience as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It's a different game than being a governor, a senator, or a party leader. You've got to come up with solutions, real ones. You've got to engineer some things. You've got, in my opinion, the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has to consider himself the CEO of Nigeria Incorporated. He has to get his hands dirty. There are so many problems that are there. You can't just sit there and lord over people. You've got to come forward with solutions. We have incredible unemployment. We have incredible brain drain. We have an economy that's stagnant. There's no new ideas. So, your last guest was talking about refineries and oil and gas, and I'm looking at this thing saying, we're building refineries. We're probably the only country building new refineries when everybody else is going for renewable energy. The game has shifted, and we're still playing the 1960s football when the tactics have changed. Somebody needs to come up and proffer solutions that energizes the young people of this country, the economy of this country, the security personnel of this country, and proffer solutions that make us look as good as we think we are. We're really not in a great position, and I don't want to run anyone down, but solutions are there to be had, and we're just not taking them.
Right.
And I like the train of thought about insanity. I think it was Einstein that said doing something over and over again and expecting different results is a classical definition of insanity. And I'd like to ask, in a bid not to be insane about the solutions we've proffered thus far to the problems in Nigeria, what do you think will be the solution to the electricity or energy crisis we're facing? Because we've got an inherent energy crisis, in the country. We can't produce electricity. Yes. We've got gas that we're flaring, but yet we can't keep the lights on for 5 or 10 hours. And there are problems everywhere.
Yes, indeed. And these problems are inherited problems. Everybody comes into power promising, to give more power to the people, more power to the people. The reality is we have an infrastructure for power. The transmission lines are from 1960s. We haven't developed them any further. They're at full capacity. We can generate all we want. If we cannot deliver that power to the people, then it's not going to work. They're real solutions today, off-grid solutions using renewable energy. We're blessed with sunlight. Practical solutions have been put forward. In 2016, I was even one of the companies that put forward renewable energy solutions using solar. And, we signed contracts with the government, PPAs were signed, nothing was delivered, not even a piece of glass on the ground to reflect the sun. We see solutions. The will is not there to do what needs to be done. All these contracts were cancelled. A lot of people spent a lot of money. And what renewable energy does is it actually just negates the idea of transmission. You can take the power and put it where it's needed. And I'm not just talking from sort of school books. I've done this. I've done this in Ibokoda with NDPHC. We put power into some of the local areas there that have been running on small generators. We put renewables power into these I think the primary health centers. We put them into some skill acquisition units using solar and our patented storage. The solutions are there. It's the willpower. It's even more than that. It's just acknowledging that these solutions are there. If you don't know, you don't know. If the practical thing is that the people we put in are, if good at what they do as far as the tradition of electricity is concerned, they're certainly not good enough to know the modernity of transporting that electricity or producing that electricity. So they're not talking to the people who can proffer solutions. You get in there and everybody knows better, and they're not putting the right people at the table. I was an undersecretary for IREO, an agency within the United Nations for renewable energy. And we went around the world looking at opportunities, and Africa offered every opportunity to get off the traditional, the convention, turbines. We're blessed with things that we can do that can change industry in Nigeria. Industry, we can even create industry. We can create a massive solar opportunity. We can farm the sun and distribute that power back down from the north into the south and have an energy mix on the grid. We're not doing these things. It's will. It's leadership, and it's also knowledge. Yeah, I'm sorry to say that putting Jurassic politicians into where modernity is needed is going to be a concoction for failure. I'm sorry to be so direct, but we are just not understanding that things have moved. There's a time for everything. And this is the time for Nigeria to change. This is the time for Nigeria to look for new leadership and to proffer solutions to the people. They must be frustrated. We are all frustrated, whether you're the richest man in the country or down at the lower end of things. The power still doesn't get to you. So, I just don't think that anybody that I've seen has proffered solutions or is capable of it without having experienced these shortfalls. And it's not just the shortfall of having the power, it's the shortfall of not having the solutions to address those problems. So I'm convinced that if the public hear the kind of things that we're trying to talk about all around, everywhere in the economy, in security, in infrastructure, they will see that there are choices that they can make, and there's better leadership opportunities out there.
Yes, you are right, Prince Ado-Ibrahim. There is a time for everything. Ecclesiastes 3, verses 1 to 8. But should the time come and you become president of Nigeria, what will be those specific priorities that you focus on, particularly with regard to the urgent demands of Nigerians, restructuring, for example, state police, for example, and so many other issues?
Yes. Well, I think the fundamental thing is that in order to get this country off the ground, we have to go back to basics. We have to put a solid foundation on the ground. The rudimentary elements are there. We're a country after all. But I think that there's some things that we need to do to restabilize Nigeria, to reset Nigeria as a nation. I will start with the basic things like infrastructure. There's nothing you're going to do in this country, whether you're Dangote with his new refinery or you're a rice mill or whatever you are. If the roads are not good, whatever you produce is not going to get where it needs to go. So we focus on infrastructure. And that focus is not giving some of the big names in construction new contracts. We go back to what we were good at. I remember growing up in Yaba in the late 1960s. And there was the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing. And if you went there, there was a yard full of tractors and steamrollers, and what happens if there was a pothole? They went and they fixed it, and they had jobs. That kind of basic infrastructure was there so that we could carry on employing people. The government had the job of employing people. And you see this play out in countries like the US when unemployment is high. The roads and bridges get worked on. The government employs. They don't give contracts out. You go to any of those yards from 1960 today, you'll not find any piece of modernity. You'll see carcasses of tractors from the 1960s and 70s. Government's job is to get those sort of things done. So on the infrastructure side, fine. Security is very important, and we're deceiving ourselves. Country of over 200 million people. How many servicemen and women do we have? How modern is our armed forces? I know firsthand because I've been involved in tactical maneuvers around the world, understanding what is the essence of security in any country. And we're under the average mark. We'll get a C-. We were one of the strongest, most prolific military forces outside the West. We were proud for what were the accomplishments that our military had, whether Sierra Leone, Liberia, even as far as Kosovo. Nigeria's export of its military might and sense and the bravery of our people was legendary. How that has fallen like everything else is just amazing. Why? Well, we haven't modernized our forces. Like everything else, we're stagnant, we're happy with where we are. We've got some incredible men and women that are putting their lives in front of some very dangerous people. We're an AK-47 nation, I've said this before. There's parity between the kidnapper, the armed robber, the police, the Air Force, the Navy, and the Army. Everybody has an AK-47. Part of our structure going forward would be to modernize our security forces, to even encourage more people to enlist. Have you ever seen an ad, or have you seen any ads of late encouraging people to enlist, to show that we can swell the ranks of our military? We're not doing that. We cannot do that. Even look at our police force. There's a court case that doesn't even allow the police right now to employ or to go and recruit more policemen. What are we doing? Why are agencies within the countries fighting each other? Why is it that the two bodies, whether it's the police commission and the police itself, are fighting over recruitment? Who's in charge? There has not been any new recruiting of policemen in this country. And we deceive ourselves. A government that understands what the people needs will also understand that security need is a paramount need for building a very good nation. And let's talk about unemployment. We see...
Go ahead. Sorry. Unemployment is very important.
Yes. So, have an extraordinary unemployment rate. And this is due to us, I believe, not giving that enabling environment for, I think, useful technology. We're a country where over 80% of our GDP was oil and gas. Today, that's 7.4%. Nigerians are doing what they need to do to survive, and the government is not playing its part in making sure those things that they're doing are ramped up and supercharged. We should be able to get these young men and women that are looking to escape this insanity by going to Europe or America or finding any kind of life-threatening way to get abroad, encourage them to stay home by providing, whether it's campuses for technology or skill acquisition units or further education that is meaningful, not just the bookworms. And those that are studying are doing a 4-year degree in 7 years. There's modernity for that. There's technology for those sort of things. I could rant on for quite a while on this stuff because I am quite passionate about it, but we're just not paying attention to those rudimentary elements that we need to.
I actually wanted to talk to you about the youth. We all saw them galvanized during the EndSARS protests, quite impressively so. But how can the youth take that political participation to real political power, and what role will you play in that? Because I imagine the youth will be one of the constituencies you'd want to appeal to.
Certainly, Tundu. I think what's important for me is that we as a nation realize that the young men and women of this country own this country. We're exiting stage left. They're arriving stage right. And we're going to give them a nation that is not prepared, that is not enabled for them to take anything forward. The EndSARS was a tiny piece of an element that caused a national uproar, an international incident. And the next administration coming needs to understand that those young people can agitate about a lot more than just EndSARS. What I'm trying to do going forward with the sort of platform that I want to sit on is to encourage them to understand that we only have one country. And if you didn't vote in 2015 or 2019, you're living in somebody else's country. You need to vote. You need to get prepared to vote and vote your conscience. There'll be all sorts of distractions. There'll be money, there'll be gifts, there'll be all that, but they're going to last 4 years. It's not possible. There's nothing anybody, any politician in this nation can give you that will last 4 years. But if you exercise your right to vote and you can succeed in that exercise of voting, it also gives you the right to exercise the votes to vote that person out if they're incompetent. So I think that exercise, we've seen it in the 80s in America where the musicians even came out and get the right to vote. We're seeing it now in Nigeria that has evolved to our political system, where celebrities and public figures are influencing our young people to vote. I want to lend my support to that by saying it's not necessarily me. I want to give you an option, and it's important that if you vote, if you participate in what is your right, we get a better country. We need to encourage our women to come out. There's fear-mongering amongst politicians that if you go, this and that will happen, that you won't get this, you won't get that. You'll get a better country if you vote. And young people need to understand that once you turn 18, you are a signatory. You are more of an important signatory to the Constitution, which states clearly, we the people. It's a joint venture agreement. Those people that are in power are there at our own bidding.
Okay. So 2 questions, and please briefly in your answers. Number 1 will be, how can we reset Nigeria? And number 2 will be about the electoral bill. The Senate did some work on it. Hopefully, it should be passed soon. What's your take on that, and how can we reset Nigeria?
Well, take with the Senate, I commend it. I think it's great that we're seeing our legislators doing the right things. It's a process, so it needs to go where it needs to be ascended to. Hopefully, we're encouraging our leaders to do the right thing. I'm not convinced that we've gotten there yet, but it's so encouraging to see that INEC is also putting pressure on our politicians to do the right thing. So I'm just hopeful that the pressure from people and society will change that. Resetting Nigeria is a mindset. I think it can only be done by the young, and it goes back to Tundu's question. The young must get involved in the reset. The young must, and young, it's another thing. Youthful Nigerians, progressive Nigerians, which is one of the reasons I joined YPP, need to have their voices heard. They need to stand on the top of those mountains and they have to shout down that we need change. And that's where the reset will come. But we need to proffer ideas for those resets, for that reset to happen. And I think that, politicians, young able-minded people that want to see change in Nigeria need to come forward and be heard. And that's exactly what I'm doing.
Okay, quickly, Prince. You are from North Central, right? Kogi
Yes, sir.
Ibira, right? What gives you
Yes,
the
sir.
confidence that
Yes, proudly so.
the presidency will be zoned to the North Central, even in the YPP? And you've chosen the YPP. Does it have the structures in thousands of wards across the country to be able to prosecute a presidential campaign? Briefly, we have just about 2 minutes to go.
Well, I think there's a big surprise coming. We are certainly processed ourselves to be in every single one of the local governments in Nigeria, 774, and 8,820 polling stations. We're arming ourselves with people and like-minded individuals, so I think YPP is going to do it. At least we will be there and thereabouts. God has his design, and we'll find out what that will be at the end of the day. As regards to North Central, the middle belt of this country is also a great part of this country. We cannot be marginalized or forgotten or only used when it's expedient to call us North Central or whatever. We are a very important part of what goes on in this country, and we need to be heard, just as our brothers in the Southeast. It can't be just North and South. There is a Federal Republic of Nigeria, and we all need to be considered. Zoning for me is irrelevant. Put the right person in the right place, you'll see great things happen.
Okay, thank you very much, Prince Malik Ado-Ibrahim, for joining us. Thank you very much indeed. We wish you all the best.